Eat that bleed. Eat that bleed. Oh, he got folded instantly. Oh man, this build is insane. Woo!
The enemy is acquiring the boost. Agent down.
Yes, agents. It is in fact true. What you were seeing right there was a Predator's Mark build. The idea around this build is to put players on the bleed, and then once they are on the bleed, you apply various talents and buffs that give you increased damage and bleed damage to absolutely wreck them. So what was happening there was I was shooting their kneecaps from the talent I'm about to show you, getting them on the bleed. Once they're on the bleed, getting the massive buffs of damage. I say massive, I mean massive. Basically, if you get put on the bleed, I'm gonna clap you. That's how it goes with this build. It's very, very strong, and it is the Predator's Mark build of the Division 2. So let's get into this build video, boys. All right, so this is going to be a little bit shorter video. It doesn't need to be long because I would not min-max this. You only need a few things to make this build really work. I wouldn't bother specking into stats or anything like that. It's just once you get the base of it down, it's fine. You don't have to work on it. This is mainly a PvP build. So how do we get players on the bleed in the first place? You guys need this talent on your gloves. It's not the best gloves. Don't worry about that. This is all about the bleed, so don't worry about that. I obviously have the wrong piece. It would be ideal maybe having Gila Guard with some crit chance, something like that, or SMG damage. So kneecap. Shooting an enemy in the legs has a 10% chance to apply the bleed. So you guys are going to be shooting people's legs. I know it sounds a bit weird, but don't worry, it really works. So this is the problem right here. We have to have 4 or less electronics. Why is that a problem? It's because we need 4 pieces of ongoing directive to fully utilize the bleed in this build. Why is that? So don't worry about the stats, guys. The problem is that you need 4 and below, right? These pieces love to roll electronics for some reason. Well, it's obviously a utility build for electronics, so it's hard. I was lucky enough to get one, so make sure your mods are all removed because the only mods you can put on these pieces are electronics mods. So this is what we're going to get, guys. Plus 25% bleed damage. So when you put players on bleed, this gun's base damage is about 22k. So when you put players on bleed normally, it'll probably be about 3 to 4k damage per second on the bleed. When you have this, it increases it by 25%. So I was hitting numbers like 5 to 6k, maybe even 7 depending on if I crit or not. So it stacks with the crit. That's why we're using SMGs, if you were wondering. More crit chance equals more opportunities to actually get higher damage when they bleed. So once you've got that 4-piece active, it's just going to help the build. Once you shoot the guy in the kneecaps, you proc the bleed on him. Now, how are we getting so much damage? Why in the video was the players instantly getting clapped as soon as I put them on the bleed? And this is the reason right here. This talent, Sadist, deal plus 20% weapon damage to bleeding enemies. You will beat people unhinged. Okay, we all know the LMG build with unhinged is strong. You will defeat a person using that build with this. You can get them on the bleed before you trade off. You will win the fight, and it's really really good. If you guys try to get into an engagement with someone with a high damage build, you will lose. But that's the reason why you need to try apply the bleed as soon as you can. That's why I've been using shields and defender drones just to help me test it and be able to get the bleed on players because it's only a 10% chance. So Sadist is the reason why this is good. Distance is good, optimal range. Allegro is fine, but I like to have the optimal range on there. So Chatterbox is the secondary, so we get a bit more fire rate after every single kill. This piece is also important, guys, just for extra SMG damage. Just roll that. Try get crit chance, bonus armor over there. So this build is very fun to use. It kind of shocks players. I've been messaged a few times today of people telling me I'm a hacker because I don't know how I killed them with a garbage build. That's what they were saying to me. This build is not circulating at all. I haven't seen anybody use this yet. Now, I'm not saying I'm the first one to try this. I'm not. I'm pretty sure other people have been using this. But I just thought about trying it now because I saw the 4-piece. I was like, right, I've got this talent on this SMG. Now, the reason why I'm using this SMG is because it's got a high base damage. That's obviously important for the bleed. Now, if you are using the Vector, yes, you might increase your chances of putting them on the bleed, but the bleed damage will not be as high and you'll have to reload all the time, whereas this has got a bigger magazine. So sustained damage is where it's at for this build. So make sure you do that. Stat wise, don't worry about that. As long as you've got all the kneecap, the sadist, things like that that bleed damage. Summarization of this build, boys. You shoot people in the kneecaps. You apply the bleed. 10% chance. Normally it works, but within half a mag, it normally works for me. It's very unlikely that you don't actually get them on the bleed. Once they're on the bleed, it'll tick them for about 3 to 6 K damage per second. They'll be ticking away while you're doing 20% extra damage while they're on the bleed. So this build feels really strong at the moment. I'm really enjoying this build, having a good time with it. I hope you guys can give it a try. Predator's Mark. This doesn't stop you from doing things like it's not as cancerous as in the first game. So don't throw all this hate at me, boys. It's just a fun build. It's nice to go against the meta. So I hope you guys enjoy this little video. It's not going to be long because there's not much to it. Skills, you guys can use whatever skills you want. I like to use these because it helps me put the bleed a bit better. It defends me from those pesky LMG users that will shred you very quickly. So that's the idea there. Now, I'm not aware if there's a bleed talent on the pistols. If there is, that might be a bit higher chance of getting them on the bleed, but you don't really need it right now because you do a lot of damage anyway. So mods, the reason why nothing's modded is because you can only put electronics mods. Like I said, keep it at 4. So that is the build, boys. Make sure you use the specialization. This one right here. I tried in the gameplay video. I tried using the sharpshooter. The headshot damage is good because you get a lot of weapon handling with this build as well. So you can hit your shots. So you can get a lot of headshot damage bonus. If you guys got good aiming, use sharpshooter. But I'm using this one right here just for the flat SMG damage. You can use this with a something like an LMG or a assault rifle. But like I said before, the critting is very important for the bleed damage and things like that. The stats on the weapon, 40% crit chance, is nothing special. Like I said, I haven't spec'd it. It's a bit, it doesn't feel right. I know it doesn't feel right because you'll be looking at the stats saying this is actually doesn't on paper. It's not that great. But when that bleed hits, oh, when that bleed hits, it's glorious. So message in the comments, leave a comment and tell me I used it the other day, it was good. If you hate it, maybe you guys don't like it, maybe you think it's a wrong step. It's a step in the wrong direction for this game. I don't think it is. I think it's great to go against the meta. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Leave a like, subscribe, and I will see you boys in the next video. Peace out.